So today we had a Ford Fiesta here towed in. Battery's completely dead right now when we went to go get to it. So we're gonna put a jump pack on it. They were talking about this thing having issues though with the transmission. Now, the automatic transmission, this is a dual clutch manual that is controlled by the TCM. And there are a lot of problems with the clutches on these. There's also a lot of problems with the TCMs themselves. So we're gonna get it jumped here, get it started, if it'll start, and see what's happening from there. So Chris decided he wants to try to get his black service truck back over to the shop so we can fix it. It's been sitting right here, I think, for like 6 months since it came back on a wrecker. It's got some bad injectors. Yep, it's definitely got some bad injectors. It's also got a locked up caliper and a leaking intercooler, so I think he's gonna swap some parts off of his silver 6-liter to get this truck back up and going because he's tired of driving that 731. So what year is this one, Chris?
06.
Is
506.
Say, is this one new in your gray truck?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that boost leak sounds amazing.
Yeah, it does.
That's moving at least. Oh god. You can tell it's got some bad injectors in it.
Something.
That's definitely injectors. I smelled it. It smells like fuel, and I touched fuel exhaust.
Well, that's what I thought it was too, but it's also low on antifreeze.
We'll have to check it, look and see.
I'm gonna run it out to the fire station and back so it gets a little bit of warmth in it.
How long has it been since this thing's ran? Like 6 months?
3 to 6 months, something like that.
Well, I don't think he realizes what he's stuck behind. Yeah, it's a little bit down on power. It's not down on power on the top end.
It's whenever it does its boost leak is when it does it.
Yeah. Now that we ran a little bit, it's not smoking anywhere near as bad. It's running pretty smooth.
No more boost problems.
What was the boost problem?
No, I just unplugged the actuator, so it's going to be building max boost all the time. It's going to be a dog and then it'll come alive.
It's spooling. Looks like 3 and 4 are going to be getting a pair of new injectors. We're going to fix the boost leak in the intercooler. We got another intercooler upstairs for it. Yeah, it's got a coolant leak somewhere we're going to have to find. It's got a cracked fuel cap, which we're going to have to replace. We got a boost leak that we're going to have to fix up on the top side. And then I think this thing just needs a brake caliper. And the front end's got to get swapped. Because this front end is off of Chris's 05. And we have a whole other front end for this truck sitting right there. So the black front end's going back on this one. So we're getting overhead set up on this Cummins here. We just did injectors in it. I'm not going to bother recording it. I've got a whole other video out on there. But there are 2 points where the TDC mark is straight up and down on the balancer. It's going to be where you set them. You can set half the valves in one position, rotate the engine over 360 degrees, then you set the rest of them. And it doesn't hurt to have a second person when you're doing this. They can sit down there and bar the crank over while somebody watches for the TDC mark. That way you don't miss it. Now the overhead is set on that Cummins. We got this blue Fiesta in here. It's got transmission issues. So I'm doing a relearn with the Zeus on it. I've already got the shift drum to calibrate, which is what the problem I was having the other day is the shift drum would not calibrate. Now we'll see if I can get the clutch to calibrate. Should start making noise over there. Yep, there it goes. So that's it, running the shift drum in it. All right, let's go start it. All right, so now that we've got it to pass the shift drum, we're gonna go ahead and run the clutch procedure on it. And we'll see what it does. It should start making noise here in a second. Nope, it's going. Just set this off to the side here. So now it's running the shift drum, which is the calibration that we had issues with last time. It's past that. It's past our clutch travel ones. Now we start the engine. Continue. We are going to hold the brake down and hold the throttle to the floor. Hit continue. And it is now performing the initial clutch adjustments. So when you hear those surges in the throttle, that's the clutches starting to grab. Okay. All right, now that it's done that, we return to idle. Vehicle's in park, HVAC is off. So it's waiting for the idle to level out right now. It needs a constant speed before it does the next calibration. This is the first time I've ever tried running this on the Snap-on Zeus. I've done this process a lot of times in the past using a Ford IDS. I've never done it with an aftermarket scan tool before. So we'll see how this is going to go. Hoping it works. I was trying to use the P1000 yesterday, and that's when I was having issues getting the shift drum to calibrate. But it seems to not be having any issues on the Zeus. So these are an automated manual transmission, and as they get miles on them, they have problems with the clutches adapting to wear. And it's not uncommon to have some really weird shifting problems on these that is just a side effect of the clutch needing adjustments on the programming side. It needs to relearn its points. This car's got 186,000 miles on it. So I always try to start these with making sure that everything is reset and recalibrated properly before we go out there and try to run it. And there we go. It's learned the touch points, which is really weird that I'm seeing a 0 on clutch B. But I don't know what this is registering, if that's the difference that it's had to move them from the last learn, or if that is actually the grab point, because if it's actually the grab point, there's no way clutch B is grabbing at 0. But we need to do a road test no matter what to do an adaptive drive cycle. So we'll get that set up, we'll go do that next. So we've got it out for its test drive now. And it seems to be shifting a lot better. This thing would throw you around when it tried to shift into second gear before. So 135 is one clutch, reverse 246 operate on the second part of it. So that clutch B was out of spec. And so far it seems to be doing a lot better. I'm going to do a couple laps around town here, stop and go with it, and then I probably have Chris take it out real quick too, just to get some miles on it before we let it go back to the customer. We want to make sure that it was just a calibration error and that we're not having an intermittent issue right now, that it's not acting up on us. So this is that Dodge I just did the overhead on. It had the dash lights out. Pulled fuse 18 out of it, and it's blown. So Chris was under the hood with his fuse buddy, had it hooked up while I keyed on and turned on the lights. And when we did that, it immediately jumped to 30 amps. We shut it down as smoke started pouring out of the dash. So we definitely have a problem here. Good news is though, since we saw smoke, it's going to be really easy to find what's bad once I get this gauge cluster out of here. We got the cluster out, and I know you guys can't smell it, but you know that smell of burning electronics? It's just coming out of that cluster. So, go take it inside, throw it on the toolbox, we'll take the cluster apart and see if we can find out what decided to let the smoke out. Well, got all the screws out of it, and as you can see by looking at the board here, the resistors are torched in it. Curious to know why, but either way, we get a price on sending this out and getting it refurbed, and a price on getting a cluster, at least the board for it. See which one's going to be the better option and what the customer wants to do. But this is why you got to be careful when you're testing electrical. Don't just go throwing a bigger fuse in because it pops a fuse. You know, we use a fuse buddy there, so it allows us to see what the amp draw on the circuit is, and we immediately had to disconnect it because of that. If you're not careful, that will set stuff on fire. Hendricks County Sheriff just went tearing around the corner there, but man, that thing is smoking like crazy out of the left side, and it sounded like it didn't want to shift.
Yeah.
It was banging the limiter 1 to 2. Oh well, let's fix that later. Well, today's project's not going to be fun. Got to work on my own stuff. So the old flatbed's got a little bit of a coolant leak on it, and it is from the bypass hose from the intake to the top of the water pump. So alternator, AC compressor, and the front accessory bracket have to come off to be able to get access to that hose. So we're going to get it draining here. While we get the coolant draining, I'm going to start taking off the AC compressor, the alternator, all that stuff. Also, while we've got it, I've had a new thermostat and thermostat gasket since I bought the truck. I haven't wanted to drain the cooling system to put it in until I had a reason to. And I have a new radiator cap for it, because this one is not in the best of shape. So we're going to do all that stuff today. I also have a new fan clutch for it, but I don't remember where I put it. It's somewhere in my garage. So if I find that, we're throwing the new fan clutch on it today too, because this fan clutch is a little weak. And they're cheap. So we'll get started. I'm at least going to do all the stuff that involves me having coolant out of it today. If I can't find the fan clutch, it's not a big deal. I'll do it later. Well, we got the alternator and the AC compressor just kind of sitting up out of the way. I've started getting all the bolts out of that front cover, not the front cover, the bracket here. The coolant tube that goes to the heater hose, somebody has siliconed this in there before, and I can see on the water pump right here that someone's put a worm clamp on. But I don't know if you can see in there how much that hose is ballooned out. We'll get a better view when I get this off. I'm wondering if it's ever been replaced before, because it still has the spring clip on the motor side. But it's really dirty in here. I'm gonna have to clean this thing. Well, this is after me spending like 5 minutes scraping off all the dirt on the front of this motor. This plate that mounts the alternator and AC compressor I don't think it's been off in quite a while. But this is that hose that we're here to replace. So it's rubbed through really far right here, and it's leaking. So we'll get that off there. We'll squeeze the new one in, and then I'll probably get the pressure washer out and clean the front of this motor off, because this is pretty bad. Well, that's a little bit better. I still got to do the thermostat, so I'll get this cleaned up a little bit more around here when I get that off. But this is a little bit of Pour 15 degreaser cleaner. It used to be called Marine Clean, and a plastic brush. Let it sit for a minute or two, scrubbed it for about a minute, hit it with the garden hose, and that's what it ended up looking like. A lot better than what we started with. Alright, we got something really exciting to show you guys today. We've been waiting for these things for quite a while. That is a brand new set of custom-made leaf springs for a silver sides. So 100% new, made off of the template from the old ones. They're made to match, and they are going to be ready for us to put into Sage's pre-war. So over the next week or two, probably closer to 2, we should be getting these things thrown in this bus. Should be a good time. I'm really excited to see how these things turned out and go in there and fit and all that stuff. Unfortunately, we sent them with one of each spring to make them. They did not send the old packs back with us. So just got to cross our fingers and hope that they did it right. We should be good to go. So we're going to try going through downtown Indianapolis for the first time since the stay-at-home order has been issued. I had a service call to go run on the east side of the city. I live on the west, and Washington Street will get me straight home without doing the interstates. I took the interstate out here, but figured we'd try running through downtown, right down the middle of it, and see how empty it really is. It's like 7 o'clock on a Monday right now, so I mean, on a given weekday, most of the time, around midnight, Indianapolis is empty. I can ride my motorcycle through the city all night, hardly see anybody, but the weather's actually pretty nice today. It's in the mid-60s right now at night, so see if anyone's out. I mean, there's a little less traffic out here, but so far it's actually pretty close to how it normally is. One thing I am noticing, man, the homeless people are really together in groups. Bus station was loaded, that corner had quite a few. Oh, well, maybe drinking out of a bottle on the street side's not the way to go. So one nice thing I have noticed is the police are dispersing anyone in groups. But overall, yeah, it's pretty just dead out here. There's not a lot of people out. So even though we got this car to reset when we did the service learn, that measurement on the B actuator still had me kind of concerned. So we drove it a little bit more. We got it to recreate the code again. And I pulled it back in here and I started running the pinpoint test on it. Everything is supplying voltage that we need to the TCM for that circuit. I went ahead and printed out my pinpoint test and have it laid out over here. So I was checking voltage to ground from a couple different pins here, and I've gotten to the point where the pinpoint test, and this is straight from Ford, is saying to replace the TCM in this car. So the way the TCM works is it bolts on the side of the trans right there. It's got two actuators that stick out of it that run the shift rails on it, and then wires that run into the bell housing to run the clutch forks. So something in the TCM is what's causing this problem. And we're going to go ahead and get the quote together for the customer to get a new TCM put on this thing. Next up, we got this Chevy 4500 here. It's got the 8.1 in it. It hit a bump going down the road, popped a fuse, and shut off. So, we'll see what fuse it is that's blown in it. Then we'll go hop on the computer, see what all that fuse feeds. So we got an idea what we're going to be looking at here. Huh. We have two fuses missing already. Anything out of this box that's missing? And they put that harness right in the way. There we go. All the big fuses are in there. So let's look in the truck here. Got a stack of 40 amp fuses right there that are blown. So had to figure out where these two 40s go to right here.